Tonight, we're going to talk about pricing your items for sale on eBay and Amazon. We're going to talk about some strategies that are usable, strategies that people use. We're going to talk about my strategies, and we're going to answer the question, why am I liquidating my inventory? Today on
The Crazy Picker Life with Wheeler, Dealer, and Banana Peeler.
Welcome, fellow pickers and would-be adventurers. Dealer here with the Crazy Picker Life Friday topic edition. Well, Friday seemed to be a good topic day. There's a lot going on in my background of my life on Fridays, wrapping up the week. Sometimes I like to go out to eat with Lon, my wife. Sometimes I like to do other things with the boys or the girls in my family, my kids. And so doing a 1 hour show, I'm going to check the clock here. Doing a 1 hour show rather than bits and pieces throughout the day just makes sense. Tonight's topic is about pricing your items. There's Banana Peeler.
Yeah.
Doing some box work.
Yeah.
Some of those were big.
Yeah.
Awesome. Work with him in a little while on some other things. Tonight's topic was suggested by a viewer, and I appreciate that. You know who you are. Thank you. If anybody else has ideas for topics, I can come up with endless topics. However, I do read all the suggestions, comments, questions. If anybody has a topic for a Friday show, you can feel free to shoot it up there. There might have been some given in the past that I have forgotten, so bring them up again. It's the only way to do it. I don't go back and read old comments very often. Okay, so pricing your items. Let's talk about some strategies. These are mainly going to be eBay strategies. Most of our business is on eBay. We do some Amazon selling. However, it is not the bulk of our business. It's probably less than 5% of our business. And so there are strategies on Amazon. I mean, I can talk about a few very briefly. You need to win the buy box. In other words, Amazon has a page, and if you aren't the first one with the best price on there, or if you're not a Amazon Prime candidate, it's going to be harder for people to find your product. And so a lot of things on Amazon are sold by price. Certainly there are some considerations for condition. New, they've changed some of the things about new lately that I don't like. And then used, there's different gradings for your item. And there are certainly strategies to get the buy box. There are certainly certain strategies to appear higher up on the listing. I'm not going to go through those mainly because I'm not an expert. Most of the things that I sell on Amazon, I try to list price-wise in the top 1 or 2 or 3 so that my item will sell to either the next person that comes along, or I may have to let a couple people buy that product until mine is the lowest price. And a lot of things can change on Amazon. There's been a lot of changes, a lot of probably misinformation. A lot of people have found out the hard way that sending stuff to Amazon is not a free lunch. It's it has to be based on a business decision, just like anything else. Markets can change. A lot has changed about Amazon, and I have some feelings about Amazon, mainly lately, that make me not necessarily like where some of the super selling of Amazon is headed. I won't get into that on this show, But do I buy things from Amazon? Yes. Do I sell things on Amazon? Yes. I have a little bit of a thought going on about it though, so I may actually change my strategy. I may not buy and sell on Amazon as much, but another day for that topic, right? Okay, so let's talk about eBay. eBay has what I would call a couple main strategies, and then there are what are called hybrids. And for us, which I'll get into in a little bit, in a little while here, our strategies, we have evolved our strategies over time to take into account what eBay has to offer as far as ways to sell, and then I've tailored them in a sense to our particular product lines, and I'll get into that more in a minute. So buy it now is one option or strategy. Straight auction of a bunch of different flavors, lengths, durations, that's another option. They also have buy it now with best offer. Those are probably the three main options, and although I'm very familiar with each, I use, out of those three, I use buy it now the most. Buy it now. There have been some changes recently where a buyer now can contact you through the eBay message and can say, hey, I see you have it listed for 30. Will you take 25? And then you can choose to say yes or no, and you can actually, on that message, hit an answer that says send an offer to buyer. And so I actually like that. The downside of it is a lot of people will ask for a discount, whereas before not as many would. The upside of that, of course, is you're moving more stuff. Somebody might not pay the 30, but they'll pay the 25. So for $5 less, and by the time you take in the fees on that, it's really $4 less. You get to move an item. So I'm for it. It's just it's always hard for me to sell anything for less. It's hard for me. I like to get the most dollars, most bang for the buck. That's where I'm at. Okay, let's break these apart a little bit. Let me talk about some pros and cons that I feel about each of these, and then we'll go from there. Auctions. Now you can run a one-day auction, and I've done that on some items that are really hot. For example, a few years ago, Apple TV was very hot, and you'd occasionally be able to pick these up in places for 20, 30 bucks. I would just put those on a one-day auction. It would appear right on people's last days, finishing within the next 24 hours. And I experimented. Boom. People would pick up on it. That was such a hot market that you would get, $70, $80, $90. Bam. It didn't matter. One-day auction. You could turn that thing around. There's 3 days, 5 days, 7 days. I don't know if there's 10. There's 10. I don't know if there's 14 and 30 days, but I do occasionally run a 10-day auction. Try to get a few more views on something that's not as desirable. So I need those extra 3 days to get a few more eyes on it. Most auctions that I still run are 7-day auctions. It's a 1-week cycle. I don't think it messes with your search results. I like to start them in the evening and finish them in the evening. People like certain nights. People used to think that Sunday night finish was a good finish for things because a lot of eyes are on it, a lot of people are on it. Available Sunday night, I don't know. I usually these days run weekdays and probably not Fridays. Fridays, I think more people go out to eat and are involved with something else Friday nights. I think you can get Friday and Saturday nights, I think you can get a few less viewers for the finish. But if your item's a hot item, it doesn't matter. There's always people looking. Okay, so pros with auctions, with running auctions. A lot of people And I don't know what the breakdown is, but a lot of people, because I've run into it, they put most of their stuff at auction. I don't know where they start their items. You can start it at 99 cents. I think you can start it at 1 cent, and they let it run, and that's how they do their business. And typically at the end of 7 days, their item sells. I don't know what the percentage, it would depend on your items, but that would be a way to turn your inventory pretty rapidly. And if your item did not sell and you started it at, say, 99 cents or a fairly low amount, that would be an indicator that A, there's something wrong with your listing, that's always possible, or B, your item is just not that desirable. So the pro of running, let's say, all auctions would be you move your items quick, or you get an indicator if that item is marketable, or maybe your listings suck, that could be. The downside is typically, from my experience, and it's not across the board, but typically from my experience, you will get less views on that item and you will get less dollars on a good item, typically running it 7 days, as opposed to, say, run a buy it now and mark it at a price that you feel comfortable with and run it for, say, 30 to 60 days. On a good item, it should sell. In 30 to 60 days, you're going to get double, triple, quadruple the views that you would get during a 7-day auction. There are always wholesalers, there are always people who have stores or other businesses that want to resell your item. There are always collectors. There are always people that use certain items that are scanning for auctions, and they're in the auction game. And then there's a whole crowd of people that just like auctions, They like the fun of auctions. I'm the high bidder. Am I still the high bidder? I'm not. Oh, up it, And eBay, of course, has some sort of an email. Hey, you've been outbid, and there's this whole process that eBay puts people through with the auctions. It's entertaining. It's addicting. So there's that crowd too. So the whole auction thing is fairly effective. I'm going to do a little math with you in a minute, though, just to show you some examples, and they're going to be hypothetical, but whatever, right? That's what this is about. This is about my experience. Okay, so pros on auctions, you move your stuff quickly. Cons, I don't think you're going to get your best dollar. So somewhere between those two, moving your stuff quickly and not getting your best dollar, there's a whole bunch of sellers that exist there, and they justify the less dollar with the quick moving and the quick turning. It fits certain people's business models. It may fit yours. I run auctions. Probably I have a couple auctions running most of the time. And I'll just say this, I probably should have a few more auctions. For example, right now, I have a reel-to-reel player, and I forget what it is and what it isn't. But it's listed for a couple $100. I bought it for $30, $35, $30, and it's listed for a couple $100, and it has 22, 25 watchers. It has a lot of watchers, and I hope they're not all you guys. I think it has 22 real watchers, right? And so it will sell, but I am in a moving situation here pretty soon. I probably should put that at auction. Even if I wasn't in a moving situation, the 20 plus watchers, that's an indicator to me that there's going to be 2 or 3 people that are going to play that thing out and try to get it at whatever price up to a certain point, right? I probably will get close to my $200 asking price, and I should just move it out. So auctions are definitely a way to go. I would not feel comfortable with my merchandise always at auction, though. And part of the reason is some of the items I have, it takes a while for somebody to want that thing. There's one person in a million that's looking for it, and so I need to wait for them to find it. Cameras, watches, and some of my other merchandise is like that. And we'll talk a little bit about how I determine my pricing on some of my items and why I price some things up. We'll talk more about that with my own situation. So that's auctions. Buy it now is you have an item and you choose to put $100 on there, plus or minus shipping. It's up to you. And somebody comes along and they can click, I'll buy that for $100, and you're happy, they're happy, right? Most of my items are buy it now. Most of my items, I do the research and I stick a number on there, okay? I think there's a lot of people that use that strategy, and they may or may not be doing it effectively. And how would I determine what's effective or not? Well, that's going to be determined by your situation. On one end of the scale, people have $1,000 to have in their inventory, and they need to turn that reasonably fast so they can go buy some more stuff, right? They don't have a bankroll to keep buying and buying and buying stuff without selling. They don't want to build up a museum, right? They don't want to be a hoarder. They want to sell stuff. So on one side of the buy it now, people are going to price their things fairly aggressively. On the far end, and I've found a couple examples of buy it nows where people basically catalog their collection on eBay. Here's what I mean. They have an item that probably has a market value of, say, $500. Well, they market $2,000. They're not selling much, if anything, but all their items are out there for display, right? I don't know if they do this for insurance reasons. I don't know if they do it to show their items off. One of the places that I'm thinking about is a brewery memorabilia place. They have their items way up there. I like it because it makes my item look pretty good when I market half their price. Somebody comes on and they're like, whoa, that place has got cool items and they want $2,000. This guy's got good feedback. He only wants $1,000. I'll buy it. So I don't mind that. So you got one extreme where people are just pricing their items at buy it now to go. And the other extreme, people are pricing their items where they'll never go or rarely go, right? You probably want to be somewhere in the middle, right? And I think a lot of people exist in the middle. How do you come up with your buy it now price, right? Well, the quick answer is you need to do research, and you can either do that on eBay or even Google. Google will give you some search results on your item. If you go into images and click on there, it'll give you old eBay sell results in some cases. And then there's a whole bunch of services like WorthPoint, and I don't know, there's a whole bunch of other ones that some of them I've tried over the years. TerraPeak, if they're still around. There's others, okay? They can give you historical data on keywords and search words and items, right? So you can get an idea. Now, some of that helps and some of it doesn't, because some items go like this, seasonal items, and then they go like this all summer long, and they go like this and like this. Other items go like this over time. Other items like Beanie Babies go like this over time. So it's tough to go with some of these 2, 3, 5 year historical things, or occasionally I buy from this person locally that they look on WorthPoint for really rare odd items, and one sold in 2011 for $600, and so they're stuck that theirs has to be worth at least $600, when in reality It's hard to judge condition. It's hard to judge if it's the exact same item. It's hard to judge the market. So, you know, I'm not going to pay $600 for that item. I'm going to pay maybe $150, $225. I've got to turn it over. But, you know, that's a whole nother situation. So on eBay, you can click a button, and I call it a button, but it's a click, and then it, you know, fills in the button, and then you can do a search for completed auctions. And you're going to have to play around if you've never done this. Most of you have done this. You go to completed auctions. I like to go high to low. You got to have reasonably good keywords in there, so you're not going to get a lot of junk in your list. If you're putting a keyword in there for toy car and you get 13,000 listings, it's going to be hard to find your toy car and how much it sold for, high to low. You can do that when there's no markings on your toy car, but if it's a toy car and it's a tin toy car, or it's a wind-up toy car, or it says on there Japan, or if it says on there the name of the manufacturer, Tootsie Toy or whatever, you need to get a nice keyword thing there where you maybe try to get 50 or 100 items max. And then you need to scroll down high to low, and you need to find examples of your item. How long ago did they sell? If they all sold around the holidays, well, it's now July. That might affect your pricing. So how do I do that? I'll talk a little bit more about that when I'm talking about my own situation on Buy It Nows. How do I price my things? But basically, there's a lot of data there, and you need to sort through it. And if you're more towards this side where you need to turn things over, you're going to need to be more aggressive in your Buy It Now pricing. You can't be the third or fourth one on the list by price unless your item shows some extra items, extra great condition. You know, if there's some reason that your item should stand out, that's one thing. But if yours is the same as everybody else's and you want to sell your stuff fast, you need to have aggressive pricing on Buy It Now. If you want to wait for the holidays, if you want to wait for the right buyer, if you want to wait till a couple of the cheaper ones sell, then you can price it higher. You just might have to wait on Buy It Now. Buy It Now best offer. When it first came out a few years back, 5 years back, I don't know when it came out. I tested it. I used it more. I didn't like it. Here's why. If I have an item that has a street value of $500, in order for me to get $500 with Buy It Now, or even $400, I need to price the Buy It Now at $600-700. And then I have Buy It Now. Somebody's going to come along and they're going to say, well, how about $300? I'm going to be like, or how about $350? A lot of times they cut you in half. If you say your Buy It Now is $700, how about $350? Well, then you're like, well, now, then you got to go through this whole dance to try to get your $400 or $500. And sure, it brings dialogue. Sure, it brings people to your store, gets people in the door. If you want to be aggressive on this side of things and move things, it's not a bad strategy. But you're not going to get as much as hanging on to it with a solid Buy It Now number. So if you're trying to move things, I think it's a good aggressive move. If you're more towards here, like hold and wait for the right buyer, hold and wait for the right number, then it's a lot of hassle to try to get that. And I found out that I didn't like that. It did not fit my strategy very well. Okay, quick break. Okay, one more thing to add about make an offer on there, Buy It Now, make an offer. I currently have my expensive brewery stuff listed as Buy It Now, make an offer. So it's not that I don't use it on some items, but I don't use it very often. And I'll talk a little bit probably why I have it on those items and probably why I should take it off. Okay? There's a few funny stories or funny situations there. I don't know. My personal situation is further complex because of this YouTube channel. I have some viewers, some of you out there buy things from me either because you stumble onto my site and see I have some cool stuff, or you know, you want to give me some business because I give you some value, or you just like some of my stuff, and all those reasons are great, but it further confuses my interpretation of how I sell things, because I know some of you out there watch some of my items, and so I get kind of a false read on how many people are watching. These are all hunches, of course, because I don't know. So anyway, there are a few more variations on eBay. I guess you can do classified ads. Real estate has some different things. Automobiles have some different things. There might be some other variations that I don't use as much, or I might not be aware of. So by no means is this discussion comprehensive. Can we just go with that? Okay, how are we doing? All right, I got time. My pricing strategy. Now, disclaimer, right? My pricing strategy has been thought up and experienced and tested, and it applies to my pain tolerance. And by pain tolerance, I mean how low I'm willing to sell things for, how high I'm willing to list things for and wait, all that. My fortitude, my ability on the front end to negotiate and buy things at a good price, my ability to inventory and house things longer than some people would like, more items than some people would like, our ability to describe things, assess them technically, test things or not test things. So there's quite a few factors in my pricing strategies that may or may not apply to you. And so my pricing strategies have changed over the years. I think they've gotten better for our particular situation. But we did not just have great pricing strategies to start with. We did not understand the different markets to start with. And markets change, things change, products change. Buyers change to some degree. Quality items always sell. You know, new old stock on a lot of things always sells. But everything else changes. Everything else changes. There's a lot of variables. So I guess the disclaimer that I'm putting out there is don't necessarily take what I'm doing and apply it 100% to what you're doing and expect to get the same results, okay? There's a lot of variables. You may do better. You may do worse. You may already do better. You may already do worse. Okay, so it's a little complex. We have 4 active eBay IDs. Wheeler has his own personal account where he sells some of his stuff on. I also have what I would call my own personal account. And so within our little group of me and Wheeler and Banana Peeler, we have 6 eBay IDs. I'm going to concentrate on 4 of them and talk briefly about each one, okay? Why do we have 4 IDs? Why do I sell items on 4 different IDs? Mainly product groupings and to become and appear like an expert in certain fields. And this may or may not apply to what you sell. We have a camera channel. By the way, all of our auctions channels are listed in the About. You're welcome to check them out. I put that on there as a courtesy to everybody, and that's all I'll say. Not a lot of channels will do that. I'm not looking for cookies here, but there they are, okay? So you can check out our listings. They are not perfect. We are experts, but that doesn't mean we're experts in everything, and it doesn't mean we're perfect. I get some emails or messages sometime about spelling and whatever. It is what it is. So we have a camera channel, mostly camera items. We have what has been converted over in the last year to 100% watches, watch channel. I also have a beer sign or brewery items channel. Not very many items listed on there. I have my high dollar items mostly listed on there from the beer signs and beer stuff. And then the last channel is sort of a mishmash of vintage items. And I spend most of my time working on that channel. We have different pricing strategies for each channel. And you're going to have to develop pricing strategies for your items, and it may be better that you split into two channels to do that. It may not. If you're general merchandise, it probably won't. But if you are in a certain category with dozens or hundreds or thousands of items, and you have some other stuff, you may look at putting that in a separate channel and having a different pricing strategy. I also think that if you sell cameras and then have a bunch of like brassieres and underwear and flea flickers in there, I don't think they believe you're a camera guy. That's why we did the camera channel. People believe we are camera people, and we treat our business like we're camera people. We're not trying to snow anybody. However, we don't have a camera store. We don't have anybody on staff that has 40 years camera experience. We're hacks in a sense, but with the internet and with Wheeler being very dedicated to the camera thing, we can usually figure stuff out and find the information. And so all perceptions, we're top camera people, right? We sell worldwide. We sell a lot of camera stuff. Watches, we're still learning about that. Wheeler is very passionate about watches. We're still learning about that. Brewery stuff, there's too much to know. I'm an expert, but very thin expert, right? There's a lot to know. General merchandise, there's a lot to know. Okay, so let's take these one at a time. My beer stuff, I have marked up because I like it, and if somebody wants it, they'll pay up. I've sold a lot of my beer stuff. I've made money on my beer stuff, and I still have some left. Sometimes when I lose my beer stuff, when I sell it, I'm cheering and I'm crying. I would like to buy and sell more beer stuff. It's just time intensive, and I haven't found the time. I still pick it up. I still occasionally will go online and buy some things that I think are undervalued. I will bring them into my shop. I will like them, and typically I will list them, and typically they will sell. I use Buy It Now, Best Offer on those. For example, I have one sign that I think I paid $1,100 for. I have it listed at $21 or $200 or Best Offer. I would probably take an offer right now of $1,400 or higher. Make a few $100, move the item. I can go get something else, right? I can always find other things. There's plenty of brewery stuff out there, even plenty of Schlitz, plenty of Blatz, plenty of Old Milwaukee, all the old pre-prohibition, prohibition stuff that I like. There's plenty of it if you search. So that is my strategy. I think currently I have 4 or 5 items listed. I could probably put another 10 items on there, and I probably need to. Some of these things behind me probably need to go on there. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I don't really like these chalkboards, so they probably will go on there, and I'll probably make a pretty penny on them, actually. Okay, let's talk about our camera. Now on the beer memorabilia site, I do not run promotions. I do not run sales. I do not change the pricing. Okay, let's just make that clear. Let's go into the camera channel. Now, Our camera business is 5 or 6 or 7 years old. I don't even know. It's five or 6 or 7 years old. It started slow and we've built it up. It's changed a lot. Some of the things we used to buy, we don't buy anymore. Some of the things we buy now, we couldn't find before. It's evolved, okay? Also, our pricing strategy has evolved. There was a time where we would just throw prices up there, buy it nows, and let it run, right? And 6 months later, I would try to go through and lower some prices manually. I'd be like, oh, that's not selling, that's not selling, that's not selling. Another thing we would do when we would buy something of bigger dollar and it was desirable, we would run it at auction. We'd try to shoot it out there because we needed cash flow. And so we did some things early on with that channel to kind of stimulate cash flow when we needed it. We were growing, our inventory was growing. It was tough. It was tough to build that inventory. And so we had to price more aggressively. We did not do free shipping in the beginning. As time went on, we added free shipping in the camera business. And we found that that did stimulate sales mainly on the little items and some on the big items. We had to watch it in our pricing. Now, again, we look up every item we can. We try to get a track record. When we're pricing something, we try to get a track record. And if there's 5 items that have sold, we try to look at those 5 items and figure out where do we fit in there based on condition, what's going on with our item, how does it work, how does it look, does a box come with it, etc. Is it new old stock, is it just used, is it damaged, whatever. You try to fit it into those 5 items, right? Or however many items, and then you base your pricing on that. No matter what, we base our pricing to the top of anybody out there that's selling something that meets similar criteria to where our item's at. That's our strategy in the camera business. We want to be right at the top of where our item is. Now, Wheeler's pretty good at doing that, but I have to admit, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, he prices to the top and then some. And I would rather him do that than he prices it too low. So what I've noticed is, for whatever reason, he prices it at the top and then some. I work around that. I'm the guy that does all the sales and promotion, and I developed what's called a price reduction strategy. Here is our current strategy. Whatever Wheeler lists it at, that's what it is. And then I think we have an anchor store for the camera business. And we get some perks for being an anchor store. And it costs so much per month. We have an anchor store. Along with that, it allows me to discount items with the markdown manager. It's like a sales manager. So I typically, once or twice a week, will put items on sale for a couple of days at a time. Beginnings of the month, ends of the month, beginning of the week, end of the week. You can figure out how to do that. Experiment around. And I will mark items down 11%. Why 11%? I don't know. Just what I've done, and it's just what I'll do. 11% seems to be enough to get people that are watching off the fence, and they're like, I'm buying now. And it just, we get a good roll of orders. Now, along with that, we list camera items every 10 days. Every 10 days, they end, and we have to relist them, okay? Why do we do that? Well, I found that every time the orders start up, people see them better. In the middle, day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they don't see them as well. Towards the end, when they're ending, they see them well again, and boom, they end, right? So every time we start them up, more people buy stuff. Every time they end, more people buy stuff. I don't want to do 30 days. I want to turn stuff over faster with the camera business. We get plenty of camera stuff. We list plenty of camera stuff every 10 days. This is what we do. You may not want to. But it goes into our pricing strategy because after 10 days, I reduce the price 5% on all our items that I relist that are over $20. Okay? So a $100 item now is a $95 item. If it doesn't sell the next time, a $95 item is now closer to a $90 item. The way it works is it won't go from 100 to 0. It'll go from 100 to 50 about as fast as it would go from 100 to a 0 if it did that. It's exponential. It's hard to explain in any deep, meaningful way. But basically, it's a curve the way the price goes down. It's not a nosedive, it's a kind of a curve, and it typically stimulates people to buy. It also, items that were overpriced, it takes them down closer to where they need to be to sell. The hot items always sell right away. They might not even be on sale. They might sell in 24 hours. However, the ones that are, priced a little high, take a little while for a buyer to come along, they need to be a little lower price to stimulate a buy. That happens for us over time with my price reduction relisting strategy. Why don't I price items $20 or lower? Because a lot of them just disappear right off the map. We do free shipping. If they're under $20 and they get too far down there, I end up paying for somebody to take the item. We did it for a while on all items because it's easier, but we priced ourselves right out of the market. Now, we probably have 1,500 or more items that are $20 or less. We have too many right now. And so I probably am going to run a series of liquidation moves on those $20 items where I discount them 30% and see if I can shoot a bunch of them out of here. I just have to do that once in a while. I've never done that, or I haven't done that since we put in the $20 limit, but I wouldn't mind getting rid of some of those before we move in the next 30 plus days. So I may do that. I'll talk more about the liquidating strategies that I'm using in a few minutes, okay? So that's what we do. We price according to market. We do research and see what items are moving for. We price them, buy it now. Then every 10 days when I relist, I reduce the items by 5%. If they're over $20, if they're under $20, I leave them be. And then I'm constantly running sales at 11%. This is the camera channel. The watch channel, I don't know if we have that thing dialed in yet. We're selling watches. I don't know the dollars per month that we're selling. We're listing more than we're selling. That inventory is growing faster than we're selling. I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm still working on that in my mind. Now, I don't know how Wheeler lists watches, but he loves watches. So I know he lists towards the top of the market, and with watches there's so many different kinds. Sometimes there's no track record, so he has to list based on other like watches, which sometimes can be difficult. Again, you're doing your research on sold items. You may need to back off on your keywords and try to find some like items to list these watches. So Wheeler lists these watches, and again, I have them up there. We run 30 days on the watches, mainly because I'm not comfortable doing a quicker cycle. Could I do it? Should I do it? I don't know. I could. Should I? I don't know. But currently what I'm doing with the watches, most of those we get at such a decent price, and there certainly is more fiddly farting around with them. By the time you replace batteries, by the time you look them all over, test them to see if they're keeping time, there's a lot to do with watches. It really slows Wheeler down. He's better at camera stuff than he is at watches. Maybe it's just the way watches are. he is getting better with watches, and he really likes watches. We're going to keep doing watches. So every 30 days I relist the watches. Across the board with the watches, I do 5% off every 30 days, anything that did not sell. I also run sales on the watches at 15% a couple times a week. Similar type sales schedule, but I discount 15% across the board every week a couple times. There's probably 2 days with no sales, and the other 5 probably run sales. Sales, 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 sales work. I don't necessarily like them, but if it stimulates sales, I will do it. Bottom line. Now, both watches and cameras, very technical. We test them as much as we can. We look them over. We try to assess the condition. We try to assess the working condition. There's a lot to know. Those are very technical markets. I would not recommend them unless you're dedicated. We've made some videos in the past about why or why not to sell cameras, why not to sell watches. It is not for the casual person unless you are willing to really back off the descriptions and say, hey, I don't really know what I have here. And then of course you're going to get down towards the lower end of the pricing. And depending on how you word it, you might have a few more issues. So I'm not going to get into that, but I'm just saying my strategies for pricing on those items are based on the factors that we have in our current shop. You may or may not experience some or all of those factors. So I don't know how helpful it is. Hopefully it was helpful. Break time. Camera has to be reset every 20 minutes or something. Okay, one more 20-minute segment, and then I got to get out of here and do some other stuff. I've got to work with BP on some things. Wheeler's at the races. He went to the dirt track races with his camera. He's going to try to get some action shots, I guess. And we're quitting at 11, so I've got a couple hours. A lot of orders came in, too. Orders keep coming in. My liquidation is going well. I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. The last one I haven't talked about is my general merchandise channel. I've got like 800 items listed on there. It's the stuff that I buy and sell and I list personally. Banana Peeler lists some of the items on there. And, we might have belt buckles on there. We have beer memorabilia. We have electronics on there. I do list occasional camera items on there. Models, RC cars, video games, general merchandise. Some of the stuff I get is 100 years old. Some of the stuff I get is 100 minutes old. I also list my diabetic test strips that I buy and sell on there. I don't have very many of those coming in anymore, but that's where I list that. So this is my general merchandise. I do the same thing. When I price my items, I go to the sold items on eBay and I try to figure out where my item fits on all the ones high to low that have sold. So if I have something new and there's 100 things listed, I can look on the sold items and I can click the little new button on there and I can compare it to the new ones. And I look at dates that they've sold. How long ago was it? I look at amounts. I look at shipping. Some people have free shipping, some don't. On my general merchandise channel, I don't offer free shipping. I have shipping extra. And that's just a strategy I like because a lot of my items are bulky. And a lot of my items on the general merchandise channel are heavy. And I should back up a little bit. International shipping, no matter what, we charge shipping, global shipping. It goes right along with it. Either if we charge shipping or not, that goes along with it. That's a whole nother discussion. How do we do shipping? How do we charge shipping? How do we figure that out? Today I made a mistake. I shipped out one of those Amico Flames. I put it at half price, sold for 130 bucks. The shipping the guy paid was 110. I miscalculated. The real shipping was 145. So I took it in the shorts. I took the bowling ball in the nuts. But I paid like 20, 25 bucks for the item, so I still made all told like 50 bucks or 60 bucks on it. Not a big deal, 70 bucks, whatever, right? I do not intentionally overcharge for shipping, but on some items, because of the way eBay displays the shipping retail and I get a good rate on UPS, I do make a little money on some shipping from time to time. And sometimes I'll put an item up there and then I'll be like, duh, and I get smart and put it in a bubble mailer for priority mail or whatever. So shipping balances out for me, okay? All our international items that we sell camera, we offer free shipping in the US and we offer paid shipping out of the country, and we actually make a little better money because the international shipping pays full shipping, and in the States they get free shipping, but there's more hassles international, so you lose some items. It's a small percentage, but I think it all evens out. Back to the show. Get back on track, dealer. Okay, so my general merchandise, I look things up. I try to find out where my item fits in all the items that have sold. I may glance back and try to see how many are for sale and where I fit on that scale as well. Now, I will spend more time on a more expensive item and I will spend less time on a less expensive item. Typically, I will price to the high end of wherever my item fits on that scale. And if I am the only item listed, I will go up there even farther. Because if I'm the only one listed and you want it, you can get it. I'm not afraid to price my thing up. It's my strategy, right? You might not feel comfortable with that. You may just want to move it out, or you may want to sell it for whatever. That's your whole prerogative, right? I believe in sort of I guess it would be called capitalist mindset from that standpoint, that if I'm the only thing in town and you want it, I'll charge what I want. If you buy it, you agreed to it. I don't feel bad about that. Now, I don't beat people up too bad. I also don't give things away. I'm somewhere in the middle of all that, but I will price things up, and then I will take offers sometimes, or I will have my same discount strategy. I list all my items on that website or on that eBay store site at Buy It Now, 30-day auctions, and then after 30 days across the board, I'll discount 5%. So if my price is too high, wait 30 days, it comes down 5%. Dun, 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 dun. And over time, that's a significant discount. The things that don't sell get down there. I also put shipping on there. I've already mentioned that. And I run sales, 13%. For whatever reason, on my general merchandise, a couple times a week, I'm running 13% sales. That's what I feel comfortable at. That figures into my pricing strategy. That's how it all works, right? Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about my pricing strategy. Really, my money is made on the front end when I buy items. When I buy items, I try very, very much to pay a minimum. I don't, if somebody says $5 and that's a good price, I don't say, how about $4.79? I'll give them the $5. I don't nickel and dime people. I don't beat people up for the last dollar, but typically I try to buy the best items at the lowest price. Okay, there's a difference between beating people up and getting good deals. I look for win-wins. I will look longer to find the right item than try to beat somebody up on the one item I come across. It doesn't make any sense to me to do that. So on the front end, I am checking the quality of the item. I may be looking up the item. I'm trying to get a good price on the item. I'm looking at the condition. I'm looking at the workability of it. I'm looking at is it new? Is it used? I'm all over it. And when you do that well, pricing an item is easy, because when you buy something for $10 and it's a good item and the person selling it's happy and you're happy, and then it sells 30, gotta take a break, Wheeler saw him. Okay, so anyway, I bought this Cox thing where you hang onto a string and fly it around your head. It's got a .049 engine. New in box, 1994. Bought it for 10 bucks. Waited for it, looked for it, waited for that kind of thing to come along. It sold within 24 hours for $149.99 plus shipping. That's the way to do it. Buy right. If that thing would have priced out at 40 bucks, I would have been happy. That's 4 times my money before expenses. This particular item was easy to price. It was a good item. I was looking for it. I'm always looking for things like that now, because I've bought and sold a few of them. So you got to buy right. When you buy right, it's easy to price things. Now, if I buy something for 10 bucks and you look online and there's a few of them selling for $12.99, $13.99, $14.99, and there's 100 listed, not sold, pricing's not going to help you. You need to liquidate that thing. So the best advice I can give about pricing your items is make sure you're buying items that are sellable for a good profit, and then the pricing is not so big a deal. That's why on the Amico Flame that I had priced for $3.99 or $3.50 or $2.99 plus shipping for a while, and it didn't sell, and then I marked it at half price, and then I took it in the nuts with shipping, and I still paid probably 25 bucks for it. So I still made $50 or $75 on it. I can't complain about that. I'll find more items. So that's something to consider when you're pricing items. Are you buying the right stuff? Because pricing is easy when a profit is easy. Pricing is hard when you got to try to get your money back and you're counting on it and you think you got the best deal ever and you didn't. And you're taking the bowling ball, whether it's a 7-pound or a 16-pounder, straight in the nuts. It don't matter, right? They both will kill you. Or at least maim you. Ooh. It's never happened to me, but when I was, let's see, man, dealer and his stories. Probably 3rd grade, got my second bike. It was one of these bikes with, you had pads on the handlebars, but it had this big shifter in the middle. You could go, 1st gear, 2nd gear, 3rd, I think all the way up to 5th. I had a big ball on it, big long thing, and then the area where all the action happened was a big area too. And I was still learning how to corner. And man, I was cornering. All of a sudden I ran out of road and ran into somebody's garage. And it was like the bowling ball in the little boy's man parts. Oh, yeah. That's what it feels like to buy something high and sell it low. All right. Why? Let's wrap this up. Why am I liquidating? Well, I am and I'm not, okay? I currently have 700, 2,700, 3,300 items listed, and probably 3,300 items in back stock, not listed. We can find stuff to list, right? So before I move from this location to my new location, I'm going to try to sell out some things. And with my general channel, where I had about 800 items listed, about 500 of those have been around too long. And so I'm willing to move them out, even if it's hard. I'm moving to a smaller space. I'm moving to a place where I don't have as good of a place for inventory, size-wise, excuse me. And so I'm willing to move some of those out. And so you may need to do that as part of your pricing strategy at some point. I don't recommend liquidating things all the time. I think buying, holding, and selling is the best way to do it. But there may be times where you need cash flow or you need to liquidate some things. You can do it. So I guess before I get any farther into that, which there's not too much more about that, I'm going to go through the watch channel. Most of those things have not been listed for very long. I may run a couple of heavy sales. The cameras, there are certainly 100 items that I need to pull off the shelf and sell or throw away. There's probably another 500 items that I could seriously mark at 20, 30, 40% off and see if I can move them. I need to find a way to figure out which items those are and list them. You don't want to list your good stuff at 30, 40% off. You want to just try to list your old stuff. So there's some ways to do that. I'm going to need to figure that out. But here's a number, okay? If you buy an item for, let's say, 30 bucks, and the top dollar that they sell at is 100 bucks, okay? This is just based on my experience. If this is a reasonably listed item, let's say there's 50 of them listed, and let's say the sell-through is like 30 of those 50. So when you look at sold, you're going to find 30. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that out of 50, 30 of them sold in a week. I don't know how long eBay keeps that back stock. It may even be different for different categories. I don't know. Let's say it's 30 days, okay? So in 30 days, 30 of them sold. There's 50 listed. You bought it for 30 bucks. Top that they're selling for is about 100, okay? Let's just assume that they're mostly the same condition. And so you might get an edge in search results if you're a better seller. You might get a bump if you have certain conditions that apply. People are going to sort by price. People are going to sort by when things are ended. Some of them are be listed as auctions. Some of them be listed as buy it nows. Some of the pictures are going to suck. Some of the sellers have one feedback. Some of the sellers have a million feedback. There's a lot of variables, okay? But this is just a general example. You buy it at 30. Top ones that are selling at 100. I would be willing to bet that auction ones sell between $70 and $85. That's probably where they sell. $70 to $85, okay? If you have a buy it now at 100, you might get people contacting you, hey, I'll give you 80. Hey, I'll give you 85. Hey, I'll give you 90. You might get that. If you have it listed at 100, but you are high in the search results, you're high in the whatevers, you might get somebody to snag it at 100 bucks. But I like to buy it now in sale. So if I run an 11% sale, I'm selling it at $89. Somebody might come along and say, I like your feedback, I like your pictures, I like your description, I like your guarantees, I like your money back guarantee, I like your shipping cost. You might sell it at $89, where if you put it at auction, it might be $70 to $85. Now it might take you 60 days to sell it at $89 to get that more money, whereas 7 days you'd get $70 to $85, but you're going to make $4 to $19 for what, 53 days extra at the high end. So annualize out that return, okay? This is what, if you're running all auctions, this is what you need to understand. On your money, you're getting a rate of return. If you buy something for 30 and after all expenses you sell it for 60, you've doubled your money. That's 100%, right? But if you buy it for 30 and after all expenses you only get 35, that's not 100%. That's 15%, 18%, 20%, somewhere in there, right? So over time, if you're cutting your margin, you're making less money, less take-home money. You might be getting it faster, but you've got to balance that with getting more. So that's the whole pricing strategy that I'm trying to get across. Now, if you list at 100 with buy it now or 100 with make offer, you're going to certainly not sell it at 100, and you're going to get offers all the way from $20 to maybe something that's reasonable, but probably your offer that you're going to get is more in the auction range. Now, this does not apply as much to items where there's 1,000 listed and 1,000 sold. It also does not apply as much to items where you're the only show in town and there's none sold, or there's 10 listed for sale and there's none sold. You got to watch out for the many listed and none sold with no track record. You may have an item that will not sell at any price, or you may have an item that sells once in a while at a low price, or a different variation of that. No track record. Be careful about buying it. Don't expect to make a lot of money. Now, on the other end of that, I have a lot of unique items come through here that may not have a track record of selling, but I can Google it and I can find longer results. I can worth point it, I can find longer results. There are some items that there are not many for sale and there are not many sold that are hot. That's where I make a lot of money, actually. But that comes with experience. You need to know what you're buying. No track record, you need to know what you're buying. Okay, so back to my liquidation. I have 3,100, 3,200 items listed, right? With my Amazon items, I actually might have a few more. I wouldn't mind moving to my new location with 1,000 to 1,500 items. I'd like to reduce my inventory by half. I might get more aggressive in the next 40 days on some of that, just because I don't want to move it, and because I know that some of that stuff has been sitting around too long, and I can replace it. I've got back stock of camera stuff right now. I can go get other stuff anytime I want. So there are certain periods in your business where you might want to do a price reduction strategy. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Think it over. Feel comfortable with it. I don't feel comfortable with what's going on. I've sold 25, 30 items in the last less than 48 hours, and it is a little unnerving for me. On one side, I'm like, yes, and on the other side, I'm like, there goes my inventory. So I'm probably partial hoarder. Oh, whatever. We sell enough, right? You don't need Dealer and Wheeler selling any more stuff. You guys sell enough already. Don't be liquidating. It makes us all look bad. Oh, that's funny. All right, I think that's it. I'm sure there'll be some questions. Go ahead and ask the questions down below if you have any on anything that I've said. We will be doing a Q&A coming up. Probably not tomorrow, but maybe in the next 7 days, maybe next Thursday or Saturday or Friday, maybe next week. So if you have questions about pricing, I will attempt to answer those in the question and answer, and I'm sure we'll have a good show there. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it hit home in a few areas. Like, comment, and subscribe. For whatever reason, my subscribers have flattened out. So if you have lost us as a subscriber, please resubscribe. You'll get daily hits when we got new stuff out. If you've unsubscribed, please subscribe again. Whatever, right? Thanks for watching. Appreciate the comments. I do read them all. And let's see, what is that? Oh yeah. Pick well, list often. Pick well, price easily. Dealer out. Thanks for watching.
Hey, Wheeler.
Dealer Production.